Hey, everybody. What a day. So I had always planned on yesterday, I got news that we'd lost actor James Caan. He actually passed away on July 6th. And so the plan had been this morning that I was going to do a live stream, remembering all of the great movies and the works, the gifts that James Caan had left. And while we were doing that live stream, I got word. Someone in the chat mentioned that it had been announced that actor Larry Storch had also passed away. Larry was 99 years old at the time of his passing, and he passed away. Well, let me do this. Let's go over to Larry's Facebook page, and we will let those that knew him best share the news. So hang on one second. Let's pull this up on the screen. There we go. This was posted to Larry's Facebook page about 4 hours ago. It says, "It is with the heaviest of hearts that we share with you the news that our beloved Larry passed away in his sleep overnight. We're shocked and at a loss for words at the moment. Please remember he loved each and every one of you and wouldn't want you to cry over his passing. He is reunited with his wife Norma and his beloved F Troop cast and so many friends and family." It's a wonderful post. Unfortunately, it's sad news for those of us that are huge fans of Larry Storch. And so I don't know how long this live stream is going to go. I don't know if it's going to go for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour. But what the purpose of this live stream is to celebrate the life of actor Larry Storch, a man who left us many gifts and was just a unique talent. So we're going to go straight to the comments. We'll bounce over to Twitter and we'll share a little bit of his history as well over the course of the next little bit. But I want this primarily to be an opportunity for all of us to share our memories. And that means you guys sharing your memories just as much as I'm talking. So let's go straight to the comments and see what we have here. Lance Chaffin says, "Hey Dave, we're losing a lot of stars lately." He mentions James Caan and now Larry Storch. Absolutely. And El Karamazov says, "How can you be young and then before you know it, dude?" Yeah. Jeff S. says, "So sad he did so much in the entertainment business, and I believe he taught acting as well." GR says, "Hey, Imagination's Music was over there with me on the James Caan live stream, so hello again." Bravo 97 says Ghostbusters. We'll talk about Ghostbusters just a little bit. And GR points out that F Troop was great. Sure was. It was a wonderful show. And I have some really fond memories of watching F Troop. Believing Rebel says Larry was awesome. I loved Agarn. Jeff S. says exactly 99 and a half years old. Pat McCormack, the golden age of TV, says 99, what a run. Yes, Al F. I do believe he was the last member of the F Troop cast to pass. Hungry Jerk, Tom McCloskey says, "Hi everyone, sad day." Sure is. And Pat McCormack says, "I'll be posting a video I did on him a couple years back, and I will be sharing that video not only on my community page, Pat, but also on Twitter when you do that." McGanahan Sky Jellyfetty says, "Aside from F Troop, I remember him from Gilligan's Island, Gomer Pyle, and All in the Family." Well, let's talk about that for a second. So he was a comic, right? He originally started out as a comedian. Because of that, here's just a handful of the shows that you could have found him on during the 60s. Mannix, Car 54, Where Are You? Get Smart, Sergeant Bilko. He was on Columbo, Chips, Fantasy Island, all these during the 70s. McCloud, Emergency, back to the 60s for The Flying Nun, Alias Smith and Jones, I Dream of Jeannie, Gomer Pyle USMC, Gilligan's Island, I remember that one well, The Doris Day Show, Love American Style, All in the Family, and even an appearance, jumping back up to the 70s again, to Kolchak the Night Stalker. This guy, and he was on a ton of variety shows too, like Sonny and Cher, Laffy and Hollywood Squares, The Hollywood Palace, Ed Sullivan, The Tonight Show. He was a true talent, right? And someone who we're going to miss an awful lot. Imaginations Music says, I loved him as Agar and remember him being on an episode of Car 54, Where Are You?, where he played a recovering drunk. It was really funny. Wish I could find that episode again. Mike Vivian remembers him from that Saturday morning live-action filmation program, Ghostbusters. Let's see. Superfan Emily Miller says, I only knew him from one of his roles, F Troop. Superfan Georgia Ayers is here with us. Hi, Georgia. How are you? Let's see. Mr. Led says, I was writing a comment on the James Caan page when I heard about Larry. Yeah. DC Big Oso Ya says, F Troop was a part of my childhood, so Larry was the last living member of F Troop. He sure was. You're right. Al Bundy 59 was just remembering his character on Car 54 and laughing. Let's see. Welcome, Greg Bartell Bailey. Pat McCormick says he came up with Cary Grant's catchphrase, Judy, Judy, Judy. I did not know that. Don Lee says he did so many voiceovers too. Coco the Clown was one of my favorites. Let's see. Rob Aiken says, strange, I was just looking at his wiki the other day. He's someone that I've been keeping track of on Facebook. So again, for folks that are just arriving, that have just arrived on this live stream, let me again share the screenshot from Larry's official Facebook page. And this was the announcement. It arrived about 4 hours ago. It says, it is with the heaviest of hearts that we share with you the news. Our beloved Larry passed away in his sleep last night. We are shocked and at a loss for words at the moment. Please remember he loved each and every one of you and wouldn't want you to cry over his passing. He is reunited with his wife, Norma. By the way, his wife of over 40 years. They were together for 40 years before she passed away. And his beloved F Troop cast and so many friends and family. So we're being asked, folks, not to cry over his passing. So what are we going to do? Well, let's celebrate his life by remembering all of the great things he did. The moments particularly on the small screen where he gave us the greatest amount of joy. So let's get back to your comments. Let's see. Greg says, thanks for streaming for Larry. You betcha. Wouldn't have... the question was just when. I had just finished the James Caan live stream when I found out during the live stream. I say we because there was a whole bunch of people in there with me, and I didn't know, should I wait a little while? It feels silly to just turn off that live stream and then turn on another one, but I wanted to separate them too. I didn't want to spend a ton of time talking about Larry on that James Caan live stream. So here we are. Al Bundy 59 says, R.I.P. Larry, and huge thank you for all the laughs. Absolutely. Huge thank you, Larry, for all the laughs. Big Oso Ya says, I remember his cameo in Airport 75. GR says, I remember playing with my plastic cowboy and Indian Fort set while F Troop was on the TV back in the 60s. What a special memory that has to be for you. Jim Logan says he lived a good, long life. He sure did. Sure did. And Rob Aiken says he was hilarious on Columbo. Mike Vivian says, I'm sure he was on Love Boat a few times as well. He was. Pat McCormack, this is a little bit off topic, but I'm going to share it just because this is so cool. He says, hey, everyone, heard from Jerry Mathers this morning. He watched the stream and was touched by all the wonderful comments from you all. So I'll be sharing that stream later on in my community thread. And if you haven't had a chance to watch it yet, definitely should. Jerry is a treasure, as is Pat McCormack. Let's see. Al Bundy 59 says it was great seeing Larry on Married with Children, and superfan Emily Miller said he played minor roles in more shows than which he starred. Absolutely. He was a guest on so many different television shows during the 60s and 70s, and a few of them were recurring characters, but often it was like the Gilligan's Island thing, just a one and done. Meganic Sky Jellyfetty says he was in Ghostbusters. He was in the TV the television show Ghostbusters, which aired on Saturday mornings during the 70s. I've got a little video about that I'll show later on. Tom says, I loved him on Gilligan's Island. Let's see. I'm doing good other than this sad news, Georgia. Emily says, is anyone else lagging? Just me? Hopefully it's just, well, I don't want it to be anyone, but if it's going to be just one person, that's what I would hope for. Westfield 90 says, I'm saddened by this news. Mike Vivian says, I never knew he was the voice of Coco. Superfan Tracy Roth-Myers is here with us. Welcome, Tracy. Pat McCormack says, Mr. Whoopi. Let's see, let me scroll up. Imagination's Music says, what episode of Gilligan's Island was he on? I'm trying to remember the details. I remember him being on it, but I'm trying to remember the details as well. Maybe when I track down and re-watch. Superfan Emily Miller asks if he was on Bewitched. I don't remember him on Bewitched, but maybe one of you guys do, and you can share that in the chat. Let's see. I think listening's probably the right way to do this, Tracy. Absolutely. GR says he was hilarious in the movie SOB back in 81 as a guru. Great movie to watch. I'll have to check that one out. That's a Blake Edwards movie I've never seen. Westfield 90 says, I truly wish we get to see our loved ones once we pass. I think that's a hope that many of us have as well, Westfield 90. Daniel Out Loud says, very memorable as Papa in Jack Frost, the animated one. I remember Mr. Whoopi, but I only knew he'd done very recently. Okay. And Sean Innes, who was over there with me on the James Caan live stream as well, says, I see he was in an uncredited role in Stalag 17 per IMDb. Interesting. Imagination's Music says, I think he would want us to laugh. That's exactly what he's saying. What his, that Facebook post, he doesn't want us to cry. He wants us to laugh. So let me go back to this comment. Imagination's Music says, let's all watch something of his that makes us laugh, or just something funny in general to remember him. Here we go. McGanahan Sky Jellyfetty says he was in the first season of Gilligan's Island. He played a gangster who just robbed a bank and was hiding out on the island and held the castaways hostage. Nomad confirms that. Loved him as the groovy guru. That was on Get Smart. He was so good in that. Shana Emotion says, the first time I saw Larry was on F Troop. He was so damn funny. Stuman says, was on last night in The Great Race. And Jeff Sadin points out that he voiced many different cartoon characters. Tom says he was on the Love Boat. Yes, indeed. You are indeed a treasure, Pat. Your channel, better stated, is a treasure that folks should definitely check out if they hadn't. You can, if you wanted to. This live stream is going to be going for a while. If anyone wanted to just click on your name, I'm sure. Although that won't take them to the channel. Never mind. Thought it might, but it's a different profile. Okay, GR. Larry also guest starred as a bum on Don Rickles' CPO Sharky TV show. I remember that show. Keep scrolling through these comments. Here we got a lot of them today. Don't forget, this is from Jeff S. Don't forget he was the voice of Cool Cat and served on a submarine during World War II with shipmate Tony Curtis. Yes, let's not forget that he served his country, the United States of America, during World War II. Honorable veteran. I know. We're back, Danny. We're back. Superfan Tracy Roth-Myers. Yeah, it's a shame that we're losing so many folks. Jerry Gillespie says, Dave, he was so nice when I met him a few years ago in New York. I bet you're glad you met him then now. Took a picture with him and saw his friend Loretta Swit as she gave him a cake for his 96th and a half birthday. How nice. Let's see. Yeah, I didn't know when I was going to do this, Danny. Had to make sure I had time for it right now. So I didn't want to announce anything on the other live stream. McGannahan Sky Jellyfetty says, I forgot about the Ghostbusters version. Yeah, the TV show was fun. I enjoyed it. Sean Innes says, I may have watched Death Troop more for Melody Patterson. Sure, partially true. I love the whole cast and discovered it really through reruns in the 70s, as did I. That's when I watched F Troop as well, was through reruns. Don't get yourself in trouble, Tracy. Do not get yourself in trouble. Todd McCreary points out he was the burglar in Banff. Tom says he was a bank robber. I think we're talking about Gilligan's Island again. LinkBond442. Thanks for joining me from that live, from the James Caan live stream to the Larry Storch live stream. LinkBond442. He said he had a recurring role as Charlie the Drunk on Car 54. Where are you? Comedic gold. Yes, indeed. Greg Bartell Bailey says he believed he played a gangster on Gilligan's Island. That is correct from what I understand. And trying to catch up to all these comments. Yeah. Superfan Emily Miller says, well, Danny, Larry just passed away today. Kind of hard for Dave to plan for it. I think what he's mentioning is we were just on a live stream for James Caan. And we had a great conversation over there, remembering all the great work that James has done over the years. Is, Sonny Corleone, and on The Godfather. And but I didn't announce when I was going to be doing this because I simply didn't know when I would have time. But I have time, and it's important. For those folks that are arriving right now, again, let me just flash on the screen. This posted on Facebook about 4 hours ago. It says, it's with the heaviest hearts that we share with you the news that Larry Storch has passed away in his sleep overnight. We are shocked and at a loss for words at the moment. Please remember he loved each and every one of you and wouldn't want you to cry over his passing. He is reunited with his wife Norma and his beloved F Troop cast and so many friends and family. Jerry says he was a guest on All in the Family and the Doris Day Show as a prize fighter. Yeah, I mentioned those a little earlier. Stu Sasser says, sad loss, such a funny guy on Married with Children. Danny says, super fan Danny Staten says, I remember Larry on the Ghostbusters with Forrest Tucker. Yep, Spencer, Tracy, and Kong. And, you would think that Kong would be the name of the ape. But no, that was... the ape was his name? That was Tracy, right? Tracy was the ape. Yeah, some great trivia going on. This is what I love doing when I don't love the news, right? It's tough to hear that Larry, even though he lived a great, great life, has passed away, but being able to connect with everyone and discuss and share memories about someone that is so beloved, like Larry Storch, this is wonderful. And the trivia is fun to read as well. GR says he also played a guru in an episode of the Get Smart series. I thought he was on more than one episode. Monica Daniels says, he was awesome. Man known only as Jeff said, just got here. He was in a beach movie. LinkBond442 says he was an eccentric general in Gomer Pyle USMC. Let's see. Chana Motion says, I remember him on Car 54. Where are you? He was a drunk. Yeah, he played that well. Robert Shaw IV says, prayers for his family. Yes, I remember that you are a member, a super fan. It's hard when you're on all the different phones, though I forget sometimes. I shouldn't, but I do. Mark Gothard's asking, what character did he play on Married with Children? Jeff Sadden says 99 years was a good run. Superfan Tracy Roth Myers says he did Porgy and Bess. Emily Miller asks what his first acting role was. I wouldn't know what his first one was. I know that he started out as a comedian, a comic. Lance Chaffin says that Larry and Forrest Tucker were comedy gold. Indeed, they were. Dan Ferris says, Texas Jack, now can I get me some fighting room? David C. says, Jack Frost, Rankin and Bass stop motion Christmas classic. Yes, indeed. Superfan Emily Miller says, a shame we lost two great mom actors in 3 months. Yes, Ray Liotta and James Caan. Kamari Christie says, rest in peace, Larry. Yeah, absolutely. Mike Vivian says, yep, I remember Jack Frost. And Danny says, I'm lucky I don't have much of a life outside of YouTube. I don't miss much. You don't miss much. That is true. And it is fun to have new people on these live streams. Thanks for joining us, folks. Mike Vivian says, so many laughs for so many years. R. Sprocket says, fave actor and his interactions of the Hakawis. Yeah, Tracy was the gorilla. It's great to be together, but you're right. It would be better if it was different news. Absolutely better. But thanks for sharing all your memories and your favorite performances of Larry. That's what's fun to. I really enjoyed doing that here. And I know that that's what, instead of crying, as his Facebook post this morning asked, he wants us to laugh and celebrate his life. Linkbond 442 says, I watched F Troop reruns in the 70s. Love the show so much. And Larry was the main reason. Jeff Alderson says, F Troop, love the show. In my opinion, it has one of the most underrated theme songs. There we go. That's the right profile for Pat McCormick. There we go. And now, folks, if you want to check out that Jerry Mathers live stream, you could just click on that name and you'd be taken over to a phenomenal channel. I call it a treasure on YouTube, a hidden treasure. Click on it, subscribe to the channel, come right back to the live stream, and then watch that Jerry Mathers interview a little bit later today. Diggin Goonschmidt says, watched F Troop as a kid with my brother and parents who immigrated from Denmark. Can hear my dad laughing even though he passed away in 2003. Larry contributed so much memories and good times. So your memory is similar to mine. I watched F Troop during the 70s, and it was in reruns at that point. It was on Saturdays, and my dad liked to watch a lot of sports, still does, and great memories I have is watching reruns of F Troop with him on Saturdays on one of our local networks. Danny Staten, superfan Danny Staten says, hey, funny story. The ape was supposed to be named Kong, but they were worried about copyright. Oh, that is funny. They were worried about running into copyright issues because of a certain ape named Kong. Love it. Thanks for the reminder, Lance. Folks, hit the like button. Hit the like button if you enjoy connecting, the sense of community and sharing memories. I get it. None of us like that Larry has passed away. David C. says, Larry will be missed. He's from an era when family-friendly actually meant something. For sure. For sure. Hey, we're going to take a quick break, and I'll get back to comments in just a second. But what we're going to do now is lots of folks have asked about Ghostbusters. So let me share my memories of the Ghostbusters TV series. Here we go.
See stars shine on CBS Saturday. See Pebbles, Bugs Bunny and Roadrunner, Scooby-Doo, Shazam and Isis, Space Nuts, Ghostbusters, Valley of the Dinosaurs, Bad Albert, the Children's Film Festival.
Okay, I will admit it. There is something inherently funny about watching a guy dressed up as a gorilla doing all sorts of crazy and goofy things. So when the Ghostbusters debuted on CBS on Saturday mornings in the fall of 1975, it quickly became one of my favorite shows. Like the advertisement says, 2 loony guys and 1 hysterical gorilla equals about 1 million laughs. I don't know why, but at the ripe old age of 11, I was starting to feel like I was growing out of some of the cartoons that I'd loved. And live-action shows like Shazam, Isis, and Ghostbusters, all from Filmation by the way, made me feel like I was watching something that was created for your more mature and discriminating Saturday morning viewer. 1975 was a banner year for CBS Saturday mornings. They also had Far Out Space Nuts on the schedule, a little gem from Sid and Marty Krofft Productions that brought Gilligan himself back to the small screen.
So anyway, the Ghostbusters starred Larry Storch, Forrest Tucker, and Bob Burns as Spencer, Tracy, and Kong. And no, Kong is not the gorilla. Ironically, his name was Tracy. It was Forrest Tucker's character, whose last name was Kong. Spencer, Tracy, and Kong are paranormal detectives who stumble their way through case after case. The show only ran for one season. 15 episodes is all. It was the second most popular kids show on CBS that year, coming in right behind the Shazam and ISIS Hour. Unfortunately, Filmation decided to take a page from the Croft playbook and decided to shut things down while they were in the green and plow the profits into other programs. Reruns of Ghostbusters continued to run through 1976, making it feel like there were more episodes than there really were.
They'd have to pay me $1 million to go through there. You shouldn't carry that much money around. What if the ghost of Jesse James was still around?
But those 15 episodes, well, they were freaking awesome. The Ghostbusters used their ghost dematerializer to zap their spooky adversaries into a ghostly netherworld. Many of these ghoulish villains were played by well-known character actors such as Ted Knight, Marty Ingalls, Billy Barty, and Jim Backus. Also, legendary actor Hunts Hall appeared in one episode. You get the idea. This show was really a chance for a group of great character actors to get together, ad-lib a ton of their lines, and have some fun, make a quick buck. I think one of the reasons that I love this show so much is that it was a show that my old man would sit down and watch with me. He usually reserved his Saturday television viewing for football and Wide World of Sports. Remember that? But there was something about the Ghostbusters that would just compel him to hang out. It usually wasn't the full episode, sometimes just 5 or 10 minutes, but I cherish those moments with my father. He wasn't known as a fun, light-hearted person, at least I didn't think of him that way, and it was great. It was so great to just sit there beside him and listen to him chuckle at the antics on the show. Later on, I found out that he was a fan of F Troop, another show that starred Storch and Tucker along with Ken Berry. Later on, he'd be in Mayberry RFD. Hey Ken, eyes up here, my friend. Eyes up here. 9 years later, another version of Ghostbusters would hit the silver screen. This film, directed by Ivan Reitman and starring Bill Murray, would gross, well, technically oodles of money and forever erase the memory of the 1975 TV series from the public's consciousness. Filmation, hoping to cash in on the momentum of the movie, created an animated version of their 1975 series, which actually competed against an animated version of the movie on Saturday mornings in the mid-'80s. There's a whole lot more to that story. If you have the desire, a simple Google search will yield hours of fascinating stories about the negotiations and failed negotiations that went on between Filmation and Columbia Pictures. But this video is not about that. It's about a time when the Ghostbusters had a gorilla on the team, and his name, ironically, was not Kong. It was Tracy, and he was freaking cool. Truthfully, the smartest one of the bunch. So that's it. Do you remember the Ghostbusters? Share your memories in the comments section below, and while you're at it, I would truly appreciate it if you clicked on the thumbs up icon, and hey, why not consider subscribing to the channel? I talk about music, movies, and television, mostly from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, thank you so much for watching.
And we're back. Lots of great memories. Lots of great memories. So let's get back to the comments, folks. Let me get back to the comments. Okay. Let's see. Tom says in the 60s, Larry was everywhere. Superfan Emily Miller says just shared on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks for doing that. The more, the merrier. The better, right? I love reading and hearing everyone's memories. Golden Rage of TV, Pat McCormick says, my buddy and bandmate Wally Kurth from General Hospital cites F Troop as his all-time favorite classic show because of Larry. Of course, because of Larry. Superfan Danny Staten says, in the 70s and 80s, Larry guest starred in many more shows, more than you can count. Yep, for sure. DC Rock said Larry and Forrest Tucker were as great a comedy duo as America ever had. I don't disagree with that. DC Rock. Mike Vivian says Larry was one of my fave funny guys. Loved him in anything he was in. Thank you, Pat. As are you, and well said, Lance. Okay, let's scroll down. Lots of people saying nice things about other people, and I appreciate that. What a great community this is. McGanahan Sky Jellyfetty says, I watched F Troop mainly when it was on Nick at Night during the 90s. Well, you know what? Here's something. Let's do this real quick.
Frontiers of TV land every weekend by heading west, way out west, to the wilds of Fort Courage. It's F Troop, where the men are men.
I'm too young to die, too young!
Where the women are men.
I'm the best shot in town, you know.
And justice goes to the quickest draw. Yep, Nick at Night, blazing the good TV trail with F Troop every weekend on Nick at Night.
Your watch just stopped and your car's in the shop. The rent is due and your marriage is through. You're feeling uptight, but that's alright, cause you watch Nick at Night.
You watch Nick at Night.
There we go. That little bit at the end was a bonus. I didn't remember that being there. Okay, Shannon Motion says, I was a kid when I watched back in 65. I was into the comedy. And reruns, I still loved the comedy, but I was more into Melody Patterson. Sure. Let's see. Yeah, some of us have to get back to work. Thanks for joining, Pat. Good to have you here. Al Bundy 59 says, Larry was in the Married with Children episode, Something Larry This Way Comes. I'll have to check that one out. Cartoons and any of that live action, even the live action cartoons that appeared on Saturday morning, they take me back to simpler times as well, Lance. It's a great show. I'm assuming we're talking about Ghostbusters or F Troop. Either way, it's a correct comment. Tom says that Larry was funny as the third world dictator on Gomer Pyle. Yes, I remember that. He sure was. Let's see. Keep scrolling. Superfan Emily Miller says, F Troop is something I watched with my dad, at least in reruns, as did I. David C. says, I'm in the classic video games, and that's how I learned the show existed, because it would come up when people talked about the really old Ghostbusters, Atari games, and Nintendo games. Awesome. Great. Thank you for sharing that, David. Let's see. LV Linda 6 says, this is so sad. Larry was such an amazing comedic actor. Rest in peace. And Superfan Butch Schump says, still kept hoping for a season 2 of the old guard live action version. So did I. They played those reruns for years, and we never did get anything more than those 15 episodes. Greg Bartell Bailey says, of all the celebs with a Facebook presence, Larry and his folks did as well or better than any at celebrating his life and life in general. He stayed relevant because he made us all feel relevant. You're right, and that's one of the reasons I followed him on Facebook too, was it just his presence there was felt. It felt like a genuine Larry Storch presence. Superfan Tracy Rothmeyer says, used to think it was hilarious that the gorilla's name was Tracy. Yeah. David Wallace says he was great in the movie Captain Newman MD. Awesome. And Superfan Butch Schump says Larry Storch did many voices, including one of the very few voice talents in the Pink Panther cartoons. I did not know that. Tom says, I picked up an autographed picture of Larry a couple of months ago. Very cool. Superfan Emily Miller says that she thought Ken Berry was a cutie. I'm sure you were not alone in that. David C. says, I've got to check that and F Troop out. They look funny. They were funny. Cruise Control says Larry was fantastic as a guest repeatedly on Car 54. Superfan Emily Miller says F Troop is amazing, David. Yes. Thank you for sharing the news, Shannon Motion. If you replace the letter F, this is from Kidder96, with the word goof, you get Goof Troop, the classic Disney show. Yeah, you do. I don't remember Larry being on Andy Griffith. I'm going to look real quick here at a Wikipedia listing, filmography. I'm not seeing it. You guys can help me out if you think he was. GR says he played Texas Jack in the movie The Great Race back in '65 with Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis. Funny movie. I think Natalie Wood was in it too. And superfan Danny Staten says, I remember Larry on his appearance on my favorite show, The Night Stalker, the episode titled Vampire. He plays an old friend of Kolchak's. Yeah, great performance. Hey, I'm caught up on comments. That's kind of new for me. So a couple things I'm going to do since I am caught up. I'm going to share the Facebook post again. And then,
See stars shine.
not that one. And then we'll go over to Twitter. This was posted to Larry's Facebook page about 5 hours ago now. It says, it is with the heaviest of hearts that we share with you the news. Our beloved Larry passed away in his sleep overnight. We are shocked and at a loss for words at the moment. Please remember he loved each and every one of you and wouldn't want you to cry over his passing. He is reunited with his wife Norma and his beloved F Troop cast and so many friends and family. It's a great message. And someone earlier commented about that Facebook page and how good it is, how good it was. It sure was. It was a great way to connect with him, the man, and watch him celebrate his life. And just, he got so much joy out of his fans. And there was often posts that would reflect that. So let's head on over to Twitter for a second here. See if there's anything worth sharing over there. There we go. There's the Variety post from a couple of hours ago. And a lot of folks are just going to remember him for F Troop. There's not going to be many pictures of Ghostbusters here. But hey, here, this is Wesley Ure from Land of the Lost. He says, rest in peace, Larry Storch of F Troop fame. What a great guy. I had the fortune to sit next to him for 3 days and share a small room at Chiller. That's one of those conventions where folks get to meet stars like Larry. And Wesley goes on to say he was such a comic genius. Absolutely. And what a great post from Wesley. Alan Spencer says Larry Storch had a long career, but his turn as the groovy guru on Get Smart remains one of the greatest guest star turns of all time. Due to his passing, that dippy song will be stuck in my head all day today. My buddy Crazy Joe says, rest in peace, Larry Storch. That's a great picture, Crazy Joe. Thanks for sharing that on Twitter. TV Yesteryear says, rest in peace, Larry Storch. He was a large part of my childhood and brought me such joy with his portrayal of Corporal Agarn, the Groovy Guru, and more. Zach Wolf says, rest in peace, and points out Phineas J. Whoopi. He was the greatest. See if there's any others. Great picture there. What a great picture. I love that. This is from, I think it's Gilbert Gottfried's. Yes, Gilbert Gottfried's Twitter handle. Of course, Gilbert is gone as well. It says, all of us at team, this is the team that worked with Gilbert. It says, bid a loving farewell to the late, great Larry Storch. We are eternally grateful that we had him on the podcast to hear so many fantastic stories of his long and wonderful career. That's a great picture of Larry and Gilbert. Those are two comedic geniuses there. Frank Conniff says, Larry Storch, one of the funniest performers ever. I just happened to see this Car 54 clip, and he was insanely hilarious in it. Oh, here's a great memory from Jenny. Don't know who this Jenny is, but let's read this message. She says, in 2013, I went to Comic-Con and saw Larry Storch sitting at his table with no one around. I decided to go over and tell him that my mom loved F Troop and would have loved to have met him, but she couldn't be there. He then offered to call her on the phone. No way. Let's see the thread. Let's see the end of this story, and then we'll get back to your comments. Let's see. I gladly agreed, and she thankfully answered the phone to the surprise of a lifetime. He was telling her that he was there with her wonderful daughter and just had to call and say hello and thanks for being a fan. It's a memory that we will never forget. He was just so sweet. That's awesome. That is awesome. And that's kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier, that Larry really connected with his fans. He had a great sense of joy in his career and what he'd been able to do, and he loved meeting fans and talking with them about that. So he really connected. All right, I want to get back to your comments. I'm falling behind on your comments. Butch Shump says he and Ted Knight worked together on the Filmation version of Batman and other animated DC shows. They played the Joker and Penguin, I believe, playing villains, and got back together for 2 Scooby-Doo movie episodes. Yes. Have a good one, Lance. Thanks for joining us today. Let's see. Cruise Control says Larry's brother was in Stalag 17. He was the guy who did the imitation of Adolf. Someone else said that was Larry making a cameo. I was unaware of either, so I cannot confirm either one. Stan the Man says, by coincidence, watched him yesterday on my DVD Gilligan's Island collection. I recall being knocked out at his performance in Blake Edwards' film S.O.B., playing a Hindu guru. Interesting. Okay. Classic TV fan says, I found F Troop when I was a kid in the 70s and thought it was incredibly funny. Great memories. Superfan Danny Staten says, having a Mandela effect today. I'm trying to keep up with my chat. Holy cow. Link Bond 442 says, Larry's Facebook page is one of my favorites. It's run by people who really love and care about Larry. I often got very kind responses to my comments. That's awesome. Jim Reed says, I had forgotten about the Groovy Guru. That was a favorite Get Smart episode. And Superfan Jill Carter says, very sad. Sakina McMurran says, hey, Dave, Larry Storch was great at physical comedy. He sure was. Those facial expressions on F Troop are iconic. Rest in peace. You will be missed, Larry Storch. And Superfan Superplex says, I don't know why people say you look dumb. Sergeant O'Rourke. That's a great quote from Sergeant O'Rourke. Okay, one thing I liked about Larry Storch, this is from McGanahan Sky Jellyfetty, in those pictures was the fans was that he always seemed like he was smiling and having a good time, enjoying life. He will truly be missed. Yeah, I think he truly enjoyed life throughout all of it, right? So often you hear about fans or actors that as the limelight starts to fade a bit, they get caught up in the what once was, but they don't cherish it. Instead, they're almost resentful of that it doesn't last forever. And Larry, he recognized that level of fame that he had during the 60s and 70s wasn't going to last forever, but he just cherished it, and he cherished those fans that remembered him. John Clancy says, I love the episode of I Dream of Jeannie where Larry plays the ape going to space. Yeah. Oh, another quote. Who says I look dumb? Corporal Agarn. Oh, so this is you have to read them one after another. That's hard to keep track of it, but now it makes more sense, Superplex. Thanks for sharing. All right. And I'm not sure what you're referring to here, Danny Staten, but I'm sure it was if it came from you. All right, let's go back over to Twitter for a minute here and see if there's any more comments that are worth reading here. So let me pull Twitter back up. Get TV says, we remember Larry Storch, who passed away today at the age of 99. Larry was known as Corporal Randolph Agarn on F Troop, but among his TV guest roles were 2 Get TV mainstays, All in the Family and Fantasy Island. Rest in peace, Larry Storch, and thank you for the decades of entertainment. Look at that. Someone mentioned earlier about the things that Larry was able to do with his face, and that's a perfect example right there. I'm not sure exactly who this is, but I want to read it. Oh, this is the actual quote or the message from Facebook, so I won't read that again. From the Lieutenant Columbo Twitter feed. More sad news. I hear Larry Storch, a.k.a. Mr. Weekly, the touchy driving instructor from Columbo Negative Reaction. Yep, there's that. There's an image from that Columbo episode. Love it. Okay. We'll leave Twitter for right now. Let's do one more look at the comments here. Danny Staten, superfan Danny Staten, says that he's going to have a Larry Storch weekend on Daily Dan's The Good Stuff. Well, folks, if you want to enjoy the Larry Storch weekend, I'd suggest clicking right there on the Daily Dan's The Good Stuff link, or just on the title. Take you over to his page, and you can subscribe to the channel, and that way, if you hit the bell as well, you get notifications on all of the things that Danny posts about Larry Storch this weekend. Chris Bodarocco says that he was Al Bundy's favorite actor. We've talked a little bit about that. And Superfan Superplex says he was always playing a cousin who looked like his identical twin. Booger414 says, just hearing about this. Booger414 says, wasn't it Married with Children where Kelly Bundy was going to the Larry Storch acting school? That is correct, I believe. Tom Lemery says, Saturday morning kids show Ghostbusters. Yeah, we talked a little bit about that. In fact, I shared a video about that, not probably 20 minutes or so. So later on, I'd encourage you to go back and watch the replay and catch that video. GR says he also played himself in an episode of Married with Children. Yep, we've talked about that. Let's see. Oceanal. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but it says, I watched several cartoons. I knew he was Mr. Whoopi on Tennessee Tuxedo and on several other DePathy, Freeling, and Warner Brothers cartoons. Superfan Emily Miller is asking how many children Larry had. 3. I don't know their names, though. He was married to his wife, Norma, for over 40 years, Emily. LV Linda 6 said, did everyone notice the similarities between F Troop and Go Go Gophers? I don't remember Go Go Gophers. And Superfan Superplex said that Larry had a stepdaughter named June who was mixed race. Okay, interesting. All right. I'll take that off the screen. Folks, it's been a day, right? It's been a day. We found out about James Caan yesterday, who had actually passed away the day before on July 6th. And this morning we found out about Larry Storch, just someone who, wow, I mean, what a legacy he leaves behind. So many wonderful gifts that he has left us. But the greatest gift, I think, of all in terms of what he left us was the exuberance he had for life and the joy that he had, not only, in the creation of all those wonderful performances on primarily the small screen, but also then connecting with us and remembering those wonderful performances. He took tremendous joy in that. And yeah, it's tough to lose him, but as he said, or as his Facebook post said, Larry wouldn't want us to be sad. What Larry would want us to do is to remember him and remember all the gifts that he left behind. And what I'd encourage you to do, and I've got James Caan on my list. I got to watch a James Caan movie. I get to watch a James Caan movie this weekend. I'm also going to find a couple of TV shows with Larry on it, whether it's an old episode of F Troop, or maybe I might be going back and watching that Married with Children again. But I'm gonna celebrate Larry's life that way, and I'd encourage all of you to do the same. It's been great. Really a wonderful conversation. Thanks to everyone in this community for getting together so quickly and sharing your memories. It's truly, truly appreciated. And with that, I think I'm going to bring this live stream to a close. Thanks, everybody. I hope you all have a great weekend.